could have been an elephant. My brother's got a yacht, Fritz. You ought to see my dinghy. Get up, Fritz. Wonder if you got windshield wipers.
Am I that easy to forget? Am I that easy to forget?
Howdy folks, welcome back to Dollar Country. Started that set off with Silver Creek, I'm Country on Countryside Records from Year Unknown. Year unknown, location unknown, band unknown. I don't know anything about it. Not a single thing. But it was a halfway decent bluegrass. We had James Davis with Wabash Cannonball on Gay Records from Decatur, Georgia. That was another kind of cover of a song I didn't think I really needed to hear anymore, but the cover was different enough. I thought it was worth playing. Kind of enjoyed it, actually. This is one I actually played. I put on the Rust Belt mixtape that I put out last a couple weeks ago. Pretty Loretta Lynn by Susie Lee Young on Process Records out of Franklin, Pennsylvania. That was from 1969. I forget. I think they were talking about their daughter they named Loretta Lynn or something. I'm not 100% sure on that. They're not talking about the Loretta Lynn, although I assume that's where the name came from, right? We had Jim McGinnis with 11 West Bloody Highway on Jed Records from 1973, and that was having to do with the Bean Station bus truck accident, if you want to look it up on Wikipedia. I think one of, if not the most deadly bus accident, or something like that in Tennessee. A Greyhound bus had a head-on collision with a tractor-trailer on this road that was already known for being exceptional in its amount of injuries and casualties. And 14 people passed away. Pretty much everybody was injured, I think. It was quite a mess. But I guess it spurred on the people in Tennessee or the legislature to get an interstate done that was supposed to be done that would have prevented people from having to drive on this 2-lane highway. So, I guess that's good. I feel like they probably knew that before the accident, but neglected to do anything, but it's just my 2 cents. After that, we had Will Gentry with The Lost Sweetheart on NCWP Records from Year Unknown. That is Will Gentry, also known as Ramsey Kearney, a famous song poem artist from Nashville. Had a career of his own under his real name, Ramsey Kearney. Also had a label, but song poem was when you would send lyrics into somebody and they would put it to music and they would tell you it might be a hit. And, it might be, but I don't think any of them were. But I'm a collector of Ramsey Kearney and Will Gentry in particular. I like his country style. And last we had Bill Scroggs with Brother Billy, not on label from 1976. One thing that country artists in the late 70s liked to do was write songs about President Carter. They absolutely loved it. They loved writing songs about peanuts. They thought it was really great that he was a peanut farmer. So this one's about his brother, Billy Carter. And yeah, just kind of a talking country song. I was on the fence about playing it just because it's so goofy. But I don't know. I thought it was all right. It's a sign of the times, For whatever reason, that's like the perfect time for people to share their opinion about the president, was the late 70s through country music. Let's see. So it is Book Corner. I've been reading something called Hat Creek and Hard Times about the Hat Creek town in Wyoming, which actually I'm not sure if it's still a town. I think it's just like an area. It was a very small town in the first place, but pretty interesting stuff. It's mostly starting from the late 1800s into kind of the mid 1900s. I think this book is written in the 70s when the author was like really old because he was a kid in like the early 1900s and around World War II. But I was just reading this part this morning about the dances they would have. The homesteaders would have dances. I'm going to read you a little bit. This is from the section titled Entertainment. Dances began early on Friday or Saturday night and lasted until daylight. Dances at Boners, which is the name of the one of the name of the families, which has got me to chuckle every time I read it, were popular because of the number of young people. One was reported to have lasted until 8 a.m., and at another, some of the guests didn't go home until Monday. In the early years, music was provided by local fiddlers, guitar and banjo players, and persons who could chord on the piano or organ. Someone would pass the hat for a collection to pay the musicians. A floor manager was appointed to keep some sort of organization going. Supper was served around midnight, at which time the dancers got their second wind. It didn't matter that the house was small. The furniture was generally moved out into the yard, weather permitting, or into some other shelter in winter. Babies were put to bed wherever a place to park them could be found, and the bigger kids danced with the grown-ups until they succumbed to exhaustion and sought a bed somewhere. I thought that was cool. We don't really have big dances like that anymore, but back in the day, I mean, before you could even buy records or before records were regularly around or the radio became a big deal, you know, you had to get together with people. I think that's a big part of the origin of country music that some people forget about, is that country music wasn't called country music. It was just whatever music was played when you got the three people in your community that could play instruments together, because they probably played fiddle, banjo, and guitar or whatever. It has since become a type of music that we call country, and we choose to play it or listen to it. But back then, it was just music. It wasn't one type of music or another, you know. But yeah, pretty good book so far. I'm enjoying it. It's the Out on the Open Range. A lot of homesteading stories. I'm gonna jump back in here with another one. This is by Faith Hart, and it's called Diapers in the Graveyard. And I would like to preface this by saying that there is no death. Nobody dies in this, despite it being called Diapers in the Graveyard. There are no deaths. It's not as morbid as it sounds. So here goes.
Town got through. Yes, it was the sexton. a truck driver, and I drive all over this country. Every now and then I pull in one of them truck stops and grab me a cup of coffee. We talk about different things. And, well, the other evening, we got in a conversation about flying saucers. And this little waitress asked me, she said,
You don't believe in them things, do you?
and I said, no, I don't. And I didn't either, till the other night. Well, here's what happened. Well, the sun had set on the windy Texas Turnpike, and I was just a half an hour from the Oklahoma line, when out of the sky came a big old flying saucer, and I swear it nearly caused me to go blind. Well, they pulled right up alongside my old 18-wheeler. There's this little green man with a smile on his little green face. He said something on his CB, but I couldn't even understand it. But I knew one thing, it looked like he wanted to race. Well, there ain't no UFO gonna catch my diesel. No, I don't care if you came from outer space. Well, there ain't no UFO gonna catch my diesel. I said there ain't no machine around that can take its place. I just put my foot to the floor and started trucking. Well, we were neck and neck for about 10 miles or so. But I guess his rig just couldn't hold up to my old Peterbilt, 'cause I put her in 12th gear and I left him in a cloud of smoke. Well, now you can believe my story if you want to, or you can just shake your head and say, that old boy's lost his mind. But sometime make a run with me to Tulsa, because he waits for me on the Texas borderline. Look out! Well, there ain't no UFO gonna catch my diesel. No, I don't care if he came from outer space. I said there ain't no UFO gonna catch my diesel. No, there ain't no machine around that can take its place. Well, there ain't no UFO gonna catch my diesel.